everyone, I'm Captain Logan. Look, it's the Day Ghost.
Wow, what's up, everybody?
Today, we're going to tell you how we felt about the pilot for, I almost said Lois and Clark, for Superman and Lois.
Well, people are gonna get caught up on that now moving forward. There's Lois and Clark and Superman and Lois.
Yeah, it's very strange that we now have two shows where Lois's name is in the front or the back.
Yeah, at least it's not like or I almost said at least it's not Lois and Clark. At least it's not Clark and Lois.
Well, and it's interesting that they called this show that because it's somewhat influenced by the Dan Jurgen comics at the end of New 52 into Rebirth, where he had a series called Lois and Clark. And when that was first announced, that's what introduces John Kent. That's what has a Superman and a Lois living on the Kent farm. So a lot of the initial ideas and iconography and stuff with the show starts with Dan Jurgens, which is part of the reason that I wanted to be cautiously optimistic. This being CW, I didn't trust this at all. I tried not to get my hopes up about this. I've been burned 1,000 times, and I was like, I have to watch it. We're finally getting a Superman show again, and I really like Tyler Hoechlin in this role, but I'm like, I'm sure I'm gonna walk in and be disappointed. Like I was positive that was gonna happen, but I wanted to get excited looking at the trailer because it looked so much like that book, and I really liked that idea. Austin, I don't know if you know anything about that book, but basically Dan Jurgens tried to fix the 52 Superman by saying that there are two different versions of Superman, and he just brought back his pre-Flashpoint Superman. He's like, no, he's a different person. These are completely different characters, and so
I
he
had
sort
heard
of
about that, but
resurrected him. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've never read that stuff, but I have heard about it.
So this goes to that place and gives us a kind of a I don't know, postmodern Superman, I think is kind of the best way to put it, where we've got a Superman that is getting away from his traditional status quo, and we basically just did Superman's more or less status quo with Supergirl for 6 years. And I've not watched that in a few years, so I don't know what it looks like now. But basically, that felt like an Arrow situation where it's like, well, we can't make a Superman show, and we can't make a Batman show. So we'll do, in the Arrow show that's basically a Batman show, and we'll do a Supergirl show that's basically a Superman show. And they didn't think that they would ever introduce him, and then they did, and he ended up being a fan favorite character. And everybody really liked this guy as Superman. And it felt like we had TV understanding this character while the movies weren't. And he was used real few and far between. He would show up for big event things, like Elseworlds and Crisis and stuff like that, and an occasional episode. But he wasn't a recurring character, or he was recurring, but he wasn't a frequent recurring character on that show. And people for years were like, I wonder if there's a chance he could ever get his own show. And finally, we're getting that. And like I said, I obviously I wanted this to be great, and I wanted to be really excited about it, but I would not let myself get too jazzed. And now Austin and I have seen it. He and I went ahead and watched it together, which was a lot of fun. And Austin, why don't we just start with you, man? Give us your best thing, worst thing, your overall thoughts walking away from the pilot, and do a sign flip. We're going to do non-spoiler, and we may do a little bit of spoiler stuff and predictions at the end, because I've got some thoughts, and I'm wondering where some things are going, and I kind of want to talk a little bit about that stuff, maybe. But the majority of this will be, or at least the first several minutes of this will be non-spoilers. So go ahead, Austin. How did you feel about the pilot for Superman and Lois?
Okay, so I got my little how I felt about it on my phone. It's just in my messages, so if you can read it, you
I don't
can
think it's
also
going to let us
see
see
my
it.
messages. Nope. My board says, this show made me feel like I saw Superman. Wow.
Wait, do that more like walking.
So, wow. And yeah, Superman's my best thing about the show. This was my the first one I'd ever seen. What's his name again? Tyler Hoechlin?
I've always pronounced it Hawkwin. I don't know if that's
Hoechlin?
right. It's like Hodglin, Hoechlin, and I think I pronounced it wrong for years, but I'm so used to saying it that way, I've always said it that way. I don't know if it's
Okay.
Houchlin, maybe?
I'm just gonna call him Bob then. So I
But
really like Bob.
I'm gonna keep saying it wrong because just just so everybody knows. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, it's the first time I've ever seen Bob play Superman, and he's really great. And it's funny because you said he's a fan favorite, and that's always what I've heard. And I assumed he was like just throughout Supergirl until you told me that he's only in a handful of
He's got
episodes,
like a half a dozen appearances, maybe,
which
unless
is
they
crazy.
used him more later and I don't know about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and when I'd see him in pictures, I'd be like, I don't know about this guy. He doesn't look like Superman. But he completely won me over.
Then
He's
you see
so
him play it.
perfect in the
It
role.
doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's perfect. So he's absolutely my best thing. As for my worst, I'm just going for the title at this point. My worst is Lois, but she's also barely in the episode. So it's also like maybe they could get better with her, but she's kind of insufferable in places and it's not great.
I don't
But
think it's fair to say she's barely in it. I think she's in it about as much as the kids are. But
that's true. I guess her
but she's in
scenes
it
leave my
infrequently
head
enough.
the
It
second
feels
hand.
weird that her name is in the title.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It should be Superman and kids, not Superman and Lois.
Yeah. Why don't we just complain about the title for a minute? Because you guys know how I am with titles. I feel like her name is there, just trying to bring in as many audiences as they can, so that they're not like, well, it's not just a straight up Superman show. It's going to be a relationship drama, and don't worry, like it's going to have like a major female lead. I think that's why her name is in the title. We'll see how much they live up to that, and like you said, if they win everybody over on her, because I've never liked their Lois. I've only seen her a couple. I think she's only been around a couple of times. I have found her kind of sanctimonious, and I felt the same way here a little bit. I feel like this show could have gotten away with being called Superman Family.
Yeah, yeah, that would make sense.
And that's
Well,
not
it's
just me
weird
making
to
up a
do
title
the.
that sort of kind of fits. Like we've had books called that, like you have Batman Family, Superman Family. That's what this is. It's they leave the regular Metropolis status quo. Clark gets fired from his job. A little too quick, a little too easy. The way we opened with that, and then like we knew this. If you've seen the trailers, that they were going to live on the Kent farm in Smallville. That was kind of, the trailers made it look like it would be Smallville and Superman simultaneously, which is absolutely what it is, both story-wise and tonally. It feels like a Superman thing and a Smallville thing all at the same time. I don't know how they're managing that. It's a really good blend. I'm loving the tone of this, but it's, where was I going with all that? But yeah, it's very much about those family dynamics, and we knew that they were going to end up living there, but they don't. I guess minor spoiler alert. But like they spend the whole episode basically deciding whether they're going to end up actually living there. Then that becomes, that's going to be our new status quo. It's an ensemble cast show about the people who live in that house, about that family. So yeah, I don't know why this is called Superman and Lois. It's as much about the kids, at least in the pilot.
Yeah, well, I didn't even know there was going to be kids. I just assumed it was just going to be Superman and Lois in Metropolis because I haven't followed this at all. Like, I haven't seen any of the trailers. The most I saw was a 13-second clip before we watched the episode.
Yeah, Austin sent me a message and he went, "Well, I know you're worried about the show, but I saw 13 seconds and it looked great."
And I was kind of right.
You were right, absolutely. Uh,
Yeah.
I think it's really fun that you got to come into this totally blind and didn't know what you were walking into, because I wonder if people will be, if people who see this expecting like a standard Superman thing will be more won over by it because it's going to brand new territory.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel like you're held into, well, you need to know the CW universe because the show is like, forget that stuff. Here's
Yeah,
our Superman show.
it doesn't feel like it's hardly set in that universe, which I'm really excited about, because I mean, full disclosure, I've not been happy with that world for a long time. A lot of people don't care about the CW shows at large anymore, and it's weird because it's funny if you sit down and compare this to Batwoman, because you can say some of the same things about that show except totally flipped, because that show's awful. And like the pilot of that from the very beginning, it feels like nobody cares. And this show, it seems like there's a lot of ambition and a lot of reverence for the material and a lot of concern about getting it just right. But also, but like just like Batwoman, it doesn't feel like it's in the same universe. Like that show feels like it's kind of, I don't want to say its own style because it's really generic, but like it's set apart from those other shows. You don't have to know anything. But I also didn't care looking at those characters, and this, I did, so...
Yeah, no, I love Batwoman and this show so far, but for completely separate reasons.
Were you as surprised as I was to not have hardly any mentions of Supergirl or any of the continuity in that? I mean, we've had like 5, 6... I don't know if they're on there last year or if that's about to happen, because I've not been keeping up with those shows. I know it's supposed to end at 6, but like we've had 5, 6 years of continuity of that show, and this feels like you can walk in without knowing any of that, and it almost feels... I'm not saying it straight up contradicts anything, but it almost feels like it must be.
Well, I
it has left all that behind.
Supergirl in this episode. I just walked in being like, it's going to be the Arrow Flash thing, where Supergirl is at least going to be in this pilot, and then go from there. But
I kind of expected that too. It kind of, at least at the moment, doesn't matter if she's even around or if Superman even knows who she is. I think there's like a reference to her early on, but there's this opening montage that kind of catches you up to with everything he's been doing. And Austin, this could have been the first thing in this universe and still had that montage.
Yeah, well, I said when we were watching it, like, why is this not the first thing we got in the CW world?
Oh, and wouldn't it have been wonderful if we could have built everything around this? Like,
yeah, no, absolutely. Like, it was just so perfect and so Superman, which is something we don't get anymore.
It got me right away with that montage. I was like, what are we watching? Like, in a bunch of ways. Part of it, well, you want to go ahead and do your sign flip real quick before I start gushing about stuff?
Oh, yeah. Hold on. Crap, where did it go? Okay, there.
We're not even going to be able to see it because of your background.
Okay, hold on, I'll turn my background off.
It's just white.
My wall is red, so that's how I feel. Oh, it's just white too.
That's what I'm saying. It's just white. I don't think the background's gonna make any difference.
That's red. This is green.
Oh, there you go. Okay. So he's feeling it.
I'm feeling it. That worked out so perfectly.
So let me say real quick before I get into some gushing stuff. I'll just right away say I'm feeling it. I was blown away by this overall. I've got issues. It's not perfect. I'm still nervous about whether the whole season can manage to stick to the quality of this, both in storytelling and writing and in the look of it, in special effects and stuff. But like I said a minute ago, that montage, just giving us kind of the history of Superman up until now, blew me away. Partly because it's making such a big deal out of, like, we understand what Superman is. He's got his principles. He's got that kind of charisma. And yeah, like, I've seen this guy play this character, so I knew he would do that. But, like, you very easily could have wound up with writers that didn't understand it as well as the Supergirl writers did. And I don't know if it's some of the same people or not. I wasn't paying real close attention to the writing credits. Beyond, Berlanti has a story credit, but then there's somebody else I didn't recognize who wrote this or who co-wrote it. And but not just like it feels like real Superman, but also it's gorgeous, it's stunning. I didn't see a bad special effect, and it's really ambitious. Like, I wanted this on the big screen. I think this pilot is almost big screen worthy. I'm gonna go that far.
Well, and I watched the first season of The Flash, and I liked it at the time, but that show looks terrible.
It's got its moments. I mean, there is some good CG in that, but
Yeah, well, there's certain things like every time they do the CGI Flash where he's running up stuff, it always looks terrible. But here you're going like way crazier with Superman flying around, and you get some shots that are reminiscent of Man of Steel, and it still looks great.
yeah, quite a bit of that.
Hmm.
Which made it impossible not to make the direct comparison, right? Because in every way, in almost every way, this is what I wish we could have had for a big screen Superman movie, and I just mean in style and in like the quality of the writing and stuff. Maybe not the exact story, but although I will say, like Man of Steel immediately goes on a down a beaten path too, where it's not traditional Superman, and this has traditional Superman in the background. So I mean, like you could have done that, I guess. Like especially if you wanted an older Batman, you could say, well, this is a Superman that's been around for a long time, and
Well,
now
what
he's
you do is
living
your
in
first
Smallville, and
movie is Man of Tomorrow, the animated one, but live action, and then your third or fourth movie is this.
yeah,
It's like, yeah,
uh, it's interesting because like I said, it's really ambitious. It's got some big, surprisingly big action, but it's like there is a big villain fight at the end, but a lot of the big action is just Superman flying around saving people, which is all I need, with a Superman thing. We see him, and he's kind of clever in how he solves problems, which is nice. He's like he's not just doing all the obvious stuff with his powers. Like he comes up with kind of creative ways to deal with things. There's a really neat moment where he kind of where he uses his freeze breath to create like a big glacier, and that looked surprisingly good. I don't know how you did that on a TV budget.
yeah, no, it was insane because that should look awful, but it looked really good.
I wonder if they thought, because I have no idea what the budget is for this. I wonder if they thought, if we're going to make a Superman show, we have to do it right, and we figure more people will watch it than are watching something like Batwoman, so we're going to throw more money at it. Or if it has the exact budget Batwoman does, and they just know how to use it. Like I'm not sure. I kind of
Well,
wondered that.
the difference is that this is a show people want to make, and Batwoman is a tax write-off.
I mean, yeah, I can't say it better. That's exactly what it feels like. I don't even think he's joking. I think that's exactly what happened here. This feels like a big
100%.
a big passion project, and you're right. It feels like the CW going, oh yeah, this is what we should have been making all along, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because, like I said, I watched Flash and I watched the first half of the first season of Supergirl, and I assumed it was just going to be more of that, and it just isn't. It's own thing completely. It kind of blew me away in that fact, to be honest.
Yeah, and it also has like in places it has a really somber tone. Like it's kind of a like I don't know if this is the right way to put it, but like kind of a darker, grittier tone than you might expect for a Superman thing, and like or at least for a traditional Superman thing, because this feels really traditional Superman, but it also is very influenced by Smallville, and so it's got it's coming in with some of that. Like it doesn't have the horror tone that show did, but it's influenced by Smallville and Man of Steel simultaneously, and so it's got this kind of that like modern small town flavor of like depressing flavor of like small towns aren't what they used to be, and people are having a hard time making ends meet, and these towns are dying, and it's really easy for somebody to come in and take advantage of everybody. We've got a plot about that, and it's kind of sad and somber in places, but like I've always said, we didn't make Superman that, so that's the stuff he's got to contend with, and that's why it works.
And
Like
like,
it is Superman in a cynical world, absolutely, and this is how you do that. It's wonderful about that.
well, and I'm assuming that the rest of the season will be Superman kind of bringing hope to Smallville and turning it
Because
more
it
into
needs
the
it.
more.
It's
Yeah.
It's in bad shape. Smallville looks fantastic. It is a very believable small town. I was gonna say from the trailer you might have expected something more minimalistic than this. We're jumping back and forth between Smallville and Metropolis more than I thought we would, and I wonder if we'll keep doing that through the season or if we'll be pretty well rooted in Smallville. I'm also concerned. I should mention this that we might have like blown our budget in the pilot. I wonder if the rest of the season has any chance at looking as good as this does, because they basically made an hour-long movie, like as their pilot. Like I said, if this was half an hour longer, you could have probably released it in on the big screen and gotten away with it. Is it fair to go that far, or is that hyperbolic?
I don't know. Inhumans got a theatrical release,
Yes, but that
so
wasn't a wide theatrical really. That was like we're putting
no, I know,
a
but like,
TV thing. I'm saying you could have released it like Man of Steel as a Superman movie. I'm going that far.
oh, okay, yeah. I mean, I'd watch it. Absolutely.
I think you could have about gotten away with that. At least nearly. You're 80% there at least.
Yeah. And I agree. I think like the other episodes will probably take a bit of a hit in terms of effects and what they can do. But I also think they'll go this far for the finale, if not farther.
Maybe they'll be smart and just be more minimalistic about the kinds of stories they're telling through the rest of the season, because all they really have to do is just be as artistic with the cinematography and the like shot composition and stuff and lighting and everything as they are here, and then you can have like a couple token scenes where Superman does some really cool thing with his powers. If we keep shooting it like this, it's gonna go a long way. This is a wonderfully stylized show.
Yeah,
I
it's
couldn't
not shot like a
believe what it
TV
looks
show.
like.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
sorry,
It's
what'd you
not
say?
shot. I said it's not shot like a TV show, like at all, and especially not a CW show.
No, and you could
It's
say my
not.
standards are too low. I was very excited about very simple things. Like, look, it's Superman standing in a big room. We back the camera off, and we can see him, like, looking around. And we know, like, the area he's in. And it feels like a real place, and we're not zoomed into. Like, you kept saying, oh my god, I can see what's happening. Like, I've been working on BVS for a month for the ridiculously long rewind I'm doing for that, and I can't help but compare them. Like it's impossible. I needed this.
Yeah, when I kept comparing it to Man of Steel while we were watching it, so absolutely.
So like you said, let's get into some of the bad stuff. I guess if I have to go best thing worst thing, I'm gonna say the best thing is like Superman, of course, but like you've already said that, and I already loved this guy, so I'm not gonna make that mine. It's the I'm gonna go with tone, I guess, and specifically again the cinematography and shot composition. I can't believe how pretty the show is. Um, and then worst thing, I want to say Lois also. I'm gonna say though, worst thing is probably the kind of contrived way that everything is established at the beginning. There's a lot of really easy conveniences to get the ball rolling that this show absolutely didn't have to have. It's a little too clunky at the beginning. It's got some pilotitis right out the gate. Once we get past it, it's kind of fine. Like like I said, you've got this montage that, and we can get into some spoiler territory here in a second. We've got this opening montage that I think is just brilliantly done. And the DCEU needs to take notes everywhere with this, by the way, because they do this kind of thing too, where they're like, in a really clunky way, they'll spend 20 minutes like establishing all these characters and telling you about all these backgrounds before we finally get into story.
Well, even just look at, okay, in BVS, there's that Superman montage where he's going around saving people. What makes you think of Superman more, that in BVS or the opening montage of this?
Yeah, yeah, of course this, and the like the color palette and the lighting is all really similar.
Yeah,
It's so
yeah,
strange.
no,
In a lot of ways, this is like what those movies should have been, and they're kind of flaunting it. They know that. Like, I don't know. But you've got that montage. We're establishing like where Superman has been and where he is now, and not everything they're talking about is stuff that was dealt with in Supergirl. We're learning some things, I think, even if you've seen Supergirl. And so I don't understand why some of the kind of clunky setup that all happens in the same day in this episode couldn't have been in that montage and just staggered and happened over time, happened more gradually. So now we're at the spoiler part. Austin, I guess we're both recommending this, right?
Yeah.
Just as a pilot, it's definitely worth watching.
Yeah, no, hopefully the show continues like this because it was quite good.
We will talk about more of our issues here in a minute in spoiler territory, because I've got stuff. Again, this is not perfect,
Yeah.
but God, it's a good start. I mean, it's got real potential. And I said this with Picard, but I feel more about it here because I don't know how you could. Well, I said with Picard, if the rest of the show is terrible, at least I got that pilot because I like that pilot okay. And retroactively, it even kind of ruined the pilot for me. I don't know if that's possible with this show.
It'd have to be like really bad, I think, for the show to do that.
Because the thing with Picard was there were like assumptions I was making. Again, kind of like some of the stuff I had with Snyder's stuff, right? Where there were some assumptions I was making that I turned out to be wrong about. So retroactively, when we learned more, it messed with story and stuff, like ruined some of the thematic ideas and character stuff. With this show, it's pretty straightforward. I don't think they can do that. I don't think there are assumptions I'm making about who these characters are and what this show is about, where a bad second episode will make me go, wait a minute, this is not the show I thought it was. I don't think it can do that.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either.
So that's exciting. So even if the rest of the show is bad, at least I have this pilot. I feel like I can say that, and hopefully I end up actually being right about that. But so getting into spoilers and getting into some more specific criticisms, and then a little bit later we'll maybe do some predictions and stuff, because I'm very curious about where some things are going with this, especially at the end where we reveal who the big villain in the helmet is. Spoilers right here. So why couldn't in that montage, why couldn't we have put one, two, or all three of these things in there? So in the same day, just to get Superman at his new status quo, where he's going to be away from Metropolis, living in Smallville, we have the death of Clark's mother, and as soon as Martha Kent comes on screen, we made a joke about how she's going to die in the show, and then 5 minutes later she dies. So we kill off Martha Kent. Any of these three being one of the big inciting incidents would have been fine by itself, of course, but it gets convenient putting them all together. So she dies, and then right before that, Clark has lost his job, and then the kids find out he's Superman. That's too much stuff all happening in the same day or couple days.
The kids finding out about him being Superman has to be at least a week later, right? Because it's after the funeral.
Okay, so maybe that's not so bad.
But we're dealing with like the kids, like with the football thing at the start.
Oh, that's true.
That's what we were saying, yeah.
But maybe that should have been the one thing, right? That should have been the big inciting incident. Like, maybe they're coming... I just think that maybe Martha should have... I don't know. She shouldn't have died and he lost his job at the same time. That's really the big thing for me.
Well, and it's within seconds because they're in the office. And he's like, oh, I'm fired, I guess. And then he speeds off and he's in Smallville a second later. And he's like, my mom's dead.
And as I always say, it's not like coincidences don't happen, but the reason it's a problem to me is because it feels like those things just happen because the script needs them to get Superman to a new status quo. But we just did a history, so there's no reason not to just put one or two of those things in the history, and then it wouldn't feel contrived. You could even have the opening of the show just be they're going to the funeral.
Yeah, or you could do...
Now, I like the scene with her, don't get me wrong. I mean, like, it seems like they wanted her on screen just to go, here's how you actually do Martha Kent, because they ruined her in BVS, or in Man of Steel and BVS, and it seemed like that whole scene was just to remind everybody who that character is. And she's great, she's wonderful.
Yeah.
She should have either died earlier, like already before we got there, maybe, or had them go to the farm because Clark lost his job. They're like, we're gonna live in Smallville for a few weeks. Superman misses having because thematically there's a big thing about how Superman's life is too complicated. He misses the small town life. He misses the way he grew up. So it's not, oh, I'm broke, where am I gonna go? But you make it, he's just gonna go. They're just gonna go live with his mom for a while because he misses Smallville and he's lost his job. And then maybe she dies in a few days after that. But it's too much stuff all at once. It feels like the script killed her and the script made him lose his job.
Yeah, or you flip it where he loses his job after the week skip, or maybe he quits to stay in Smallville. Something.
Yeah, that would have been good too. I think that's the more contrived of the two things, is his losing his job.
Yeah, why did he even lose his job?
I wasn't sure. And maybe on a second viewing it's clearer, but yeah, it really felt like, because it happened so lickety split, it really felt like we need him to have some reason to be in Smallville, so he loses his job at the exact same time his mom dies.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's too much on the same within seconds.
So that's my worst thing. I was a little bit concerned that the teen drama stuff would be handled poorly. Again, this is going to be a Superman show and a Smallville show simultaneously, so you gotta have teenagers. Are you a little concerned about high school stuff? Because we haven't seen any of that yet, and I don't know how that's going to be handled, but...
Probably a bit, because the teen actors are a little wonky. They can grow into it, but there's some odd choices here and there.
So far, they are the weak link acting-wise.
Yeah,
certainly. And I don't think
absolutely.
Lois's actress is bad. I just don't like the way she's written.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, it's 100% just how she's written.
You made the point that, and I like this a lot, you made the point that Hulkwin doesn't look like Superman, but he completely embodies Superman, and Lois has the flip of that, where she's a perfect looking Lois, but what are we doing with her character-wise?
Yeah, no, if I were to just see a picture of the two of them, I'd be like, you guys messed up on Superman, but your Lois is perfect.
And then you watch the show and you'd have this whiplash.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly a whiplash. It's like, what are you guys doing? You have a perfect Lois and you ruined it.
It almost feels obligatory to have an unlikable female love interest in a CW superhero show.
Yeah.
It sucks. It's like we're manufacturing drama with her, because I don't feel like that character is actually really supposed to be like that. I feel like she's thrown under the bus just to create drama for Clark. He gets really surprised at the end when she's reasonable about something. He's like, it seems like a good idea to stay here. She's like, I agree. And then he's like, oh my god, you agreed with me. I'm being reasonable and you agreed with me. That's a problem. You have a scene where she gets practically dressed down by General Lane, by her father, for forgetting who she's married to, which is simultaneously a terrible scene and a great scene, because she's awful, but he's fantastic. And I don't think they realize how much they're throwing her under the bus. They're making a really big deal out of, don't worry. Again, we've got a strong female character in our Superman show. It's going to be as much about her as it is him. And they're screwing that up by making her really unlikable in a lot of scenes.
Well, yeah, because that scene is basically the general is asking Superman to do something. And Lois just comes in and she's like, no, Clark's upset. His mom died. Clark, you can't go. And she's just freaking out at him.
She's basically acting like she's his mom.
Yeah, exactly.
And she's acting like the Kents in BVS almost, or in Man of Steel almost.
And then
she's like, no, Clark, don't be responsible. Don't go, use your powers to help people. And then you got Sam Lane of all people, who very often in other things is kind of treated as a villain, or at least he was in Smallville. I think he is in some other places too. You've got him being the voice of reason, going. I love his speech where he goes, Superman can't be a normal person. Like you fell in love with Clark, but you married Superman. That's wonderful. That's classic.
Yeah, we both cheered after he tore her down.
Oh, I applauded. Well, and I loved him instantly. We introduce him right after. Is it after the big save with the glacier thing?
I think you see him right before that, but that is the big scene where he talks to Superman, yeah.
And just right away, we have this really cool character dynamic I haven't really seen before. Maybe it's not in the comics some and I don't remember it, or I haven't read it. But we've got a General Lane who knows that Clark is Superman, and he's basically like he's Jim Gordon or something.
Mhm. When I said beforehand, because
I
I'm
hope he's
not
all
like,
over the show. I immediately love that actor. I don't know if he was in Supergirl and he's brought in from that. He might be, and I haven't seen that stuff. But I loved him right away. He's awesome.
when I assume he'll be a main recurring character. But I was saying to Cap because I'm not like a huge Superman person, so I haven't seen or read much Superman. But it was a completely new dynamic for me, and it was really good. And I didn't have the Gordon thing, but you're right, that is pretty much exactly what that is.
Well, and you have some of the archetypes that you usually have in these shows just being
Yeah,
fulfilled in kind of new, fresher ways. You always have the comp guy, and I guess General Lane is kind of our comp guy in this. But
or he's like the Martian Manhunter from Supergirl.
yeah, exactly. But you don't yet have, and I hope they don't contrive some stupid way to get there, but you don't yet have, like, the guy or the girl in the chair that's, like, looking at a computer, telling Superman where to go and stuff. Because, I mean, he's Superman, he doesn't need that, but Supergirl shouldn't have either, and she had all of that from the beginning. Because she's basically working for a, like shadow government institution at the same time as she's being Supergirl. I love how simple and down to earth this is. It's great because it's like we're getting back to brass tacks with Superman at the same time as we're going this totally fresh new direction I've never exactly seen before. That again is based some on that Jurgens thing, but it's not exactly the same thing. Because it's not a Superman in hiding like that was.
Yeah,
It's just a Superman operating out of Smallville instead of Metropolis, really.
yeah. Well, and now that you say that, I'm so glad we don't have the guy in or like the team in the chair thing
I'm so done
with
with
this
that.
show. So when I was in high school, I think, because I was making my own comics throughout middle school, and I was starting again in high school, and I had the superhero, and I was like, this character's gonna have a whole team that like sits in like a room and they like work out that stuff, kind of like the Oracle thing, or like Chloe in 24 or something. And I was like, that's
Or
such like a
Chloe in Smallville by season 9, even.
and I was like, that's such a cool idea. No one's ever done that, really, at least to that like scale. And then Arrow happened, and then Flash happened, and then
Etc.,
and then and then,
etc. Yeah, all
and I
of them
was
have it.
yeah, like why does Flash need to have this whole team that like tells him what to do? It's nuts. And I was like, no, forget that
Just so
idea.
we can have the stupid fan arguments of Team Arrow and Team Flash. Like, if this gets like Team Superman, I'm out. I don't care how good it is.
Well, it'll be his
I'm kind
family.
of kidding, but I don't want that.
They'll get like one computer in one room, and the family will all sit at the computer and tell them what to do.
So this pilot is odd because it's an hour and 3 minutes long when you take the commercials out, and I don't know how that even airs on television. That was very strange.
Yeah, no, that's really strange. I've never seen like anything that's an hour and 3 minutes
It
for your
watched
first
like a
episode.
streaming thing where it's just the length it needs to be. Like I was very impressed with the pacing of this. It takes its time. Like it doesn't feel like it's dragging its feet, and it doesn't feel like it's doing that really slow Netflix pacing to tell you how important it is.
Yeah,
But it's not rushing things. You were a little worried that it would rush the villain plot stuff because we don't really get much of that until like the last 20 minutes. I didn't feel like any of that was rushed at all. I mean, you kind of have a big fight with and we'll talk about this in a minute with the guy in the helmet.
Doom guy. Yeah,
It sort of feels obligatory just so you can have like a big superhero fight. I love how ambitious it is. You got this small town show that is where simultaneously we've got this big Superman action, but a lot of the action of the show is about the more talky stuff, is about things like Martha Kent took out alone and was going to lose the farm, and that kind of drama. I don't know how I feel about that whole thing yet, but I gotta watch it again and think about it a little bit because it seems like she kind of like put her own like livelihood in jeopardy to help put Superman's kids through school, and I don't know how much money they make, so I don't know if they needed him to do that or her to do that. I was fuzzy on that whole thing.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. I was just thinking the whole Superman thing, it's kind of reminiscent of like the Lois and Clark or Incredible Hulk thing where it is mostly just talking, but then you get like the few scenes here or there where they get to go all out with that stuff.
And yet it's
And
shot so cinematically, you kind of forget you're watching a TV show.
yeah, like it's just that, but now like done now, so we can do stuff on a bigger scale.
Do you agree this is as good as any of these have ever looked? I mean, I know you haven't seen all the CW shows.
I've seen enough to say yes.
Yeah, it's certainly pilot wise, and like I like the way Arrow looks that first season. It still kind of looks like a TV show.
It absolutely does, yeah.
And this
And that's all I've seen of Arrow.
this just doesn't. And ironically, it takes place in a tiny town, and it's the most cinematic thing that they've got.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I can't believe that this aired on the CW. That's
It doesn't.
insane.
It's got its moments where it feels certainly like a CW show. Like I said,
Yeah.
it's got some writing hiccups. There are places where those kids occasionally will say a thing that makes me roll my eyes a little bit.
Well, I just meant like visually, but yeah, yeah, no, of course.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm saying if it weren't for that, it would not feel at all like a CW show. I wasn't seeing any of the really hard political pandery stuff that I always complain about with the CW shows these days. Again, they're and I have had that problem with their Lois before. Here, she just again, it's not that she just seems kind of unnecessarily sanctimonious, and also, there are a couple places where she has those kind of like. Those lines that just don't really mean much of anything, where it could just kind of platitudes.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember you pointed one out while we were watching it. I can't remember what it was exactly now. But yeah, it was just what even is that line?
Yeah, it was something about like I can't remember. It was like like lives are complicated. Just the way she worded it was weird. She used the word life in a very strange place. I'd have to watch it again, but I hope that they can win me over on her because I'm not. I wasn't convinced in Supergirl, and I'm still not. And once she starts getting a lot of screen time, she could be the thing that really drags this down for me.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. Like I said, she's my worst part. But I mean, hopefully, because I think that actress could do a good job as Lois. But
Yeah, I like her fine. I just don't like the way she's written. So we had some pretty cool nods here and there to various Superman things and to Smallville specifically. You pointed out what was it at the beginning that you said was right out of a
oh, it's the
Superman thing?
scene. It's the scene with the kid in the hat. It's from All Star
Oh,
Superman.
from All Star. That's right.
Yeah, yeah, because you get the like mixed scene where you get the cover from the first appearance, and then he like turns around and talks to the kid, and it's the All Star scene.
And there was nothing horribly obvious and sappy. We didn't have one look up at the sky, the leap in tall building. We didn't have to do any of that stuff.
And his first appearance suit is so awesome.
It's really great. And like
I
that,
wish he stuck around with that,
it would.
but
I'm
that was
glad he
perfect.
doesn't. It would be a little silly. Well, first of all, like we've the suit that he's had in Supergirl, of course, isn't that. So it'd be really weird if he was just suddenly running around in that.
Well, yeah, because I haven't seen any of that stuff. So
And he's got a different suit here, but it's an evolution of what he was wearing before. I still wish they'd bring the trunks back, but that's just
yeah,
me. It looks fine. I don't want to get caught up in the suit. I'm fine with it. But
it's very like Man of Steel meets Superman Returns. I thought.
yep, that's exactly right. Um, and then yeah, and like the Man of Steel suit is like really heavily influenced by 52 and stuff. So
Well,
that's
yeah, of course.
partly why we've still got that stuff. New 52 for people who hate it when I don't put the new in there. But
It's
I
like
think.
8 years old. It's not new anymore.
Well, the whole thing is that there was a miniseries called 52, and so people like to
No, I
go,
know.
oh, Oh, Cat, that was a mini. Yeah, I know that. It's shorthand. Anyway,
Yeah, so it's 52 and old 52 now, 'cause it's not new anymore.
yeah, everything becomes old eventually. Like,
Exactly.
but yeah, it was fun to see that suit. I'm like that might be the one thing that borders on being like a little silly. Just because like that's a suit that comes out of the 30s. I don't know how he ends up that ends up being the first thing he wears, but I guess the "my mom made it for me" line it makes it work. And again, that's one of the things that was right out of All Star, right?
Yeah, that's the line, yeah.
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 But I guess that helps where it's like, well, she's old fashioned, and so she makes that, and then later he has this other suit. So that's
Which is
cool.
funny because I didn't have the cheesy thing, but I guess I probably should have. I was just like, oh my God, it's the classic suit.
The thing is, it happened so early. I was expecting a lot of more cheese factor and a lot of like really obvious nods to things and stuff. When you take the whole episode on the whole, and that's the one thing like that it gives you, yeah, it doesn't watch that way at all. I just thought it would keep inundating us with stuff like that. It was like, we've read Superman comics, you guys. All the nods and things, it feels like they've got a lot of reverence for this character before it feels like they're trying to impress the fans. There's not any like obnoxious, like stunt casting.
Yeah, when you don't have the Batwoman thing either, where we're just constantly name dropping characters,
And I say
it's like,
obnoxious stunt
oh,
casting.
Killer
I
Croc.
That's true too. Yeah. Well,
Remember that?
we do name drop some Smallville things here and there, but again, that's where we are, and it's kind of subtle. And if you don't know anything about that,
Well, it's just natural,
you
yeah.
wouldn't care. Yeah. We got a mention of the Schuster, not quarry or gorge. I can't remember what it is. But there's a but like that's a traditional Smallville thing. There's an area in Smallville called the Schuster something. That's
I
brought
also
up.
thought I caught a Donner reference. I
Oh,
could
I
be
missed
wrong because
that.
it flashed, but I think there was like a chalkboard with stuff they had, and I think there was like a Doctor like Donner or something
Oh, that's cool.
appointment, but I could be wrong because it like flashed by. So I
Uh,
don't know if I just misread that.
there's a Pete Ross reference. There's like, and when I say references to Smallville, I mean the show and the place and like the background of the comics. I like the way Lana Lang is utilized in this
Yeah, yeah, and
quite a
she's
bit.
only got like a handful of scenes, but yeah, no, she was pretty good in it.
There's not any sense of love triangle stuff with her. There's not
Yeah,
even a
God,
reference, I don't think, to the fact that they dated.
I don't think
Or if
so.
there is, I missed it. I mean, we were watching it together and we were talking a little bit, but not the whole time. I'm pretty sure there's no reference to that.
The most you get is just that slow motion walk as he turns around. I guess that's the
That was very
that's the
awkward
hint.
because it takes too long before we say her name. Because you were really confused because we have her married name and I forget what it is, but she's married a guy who seems just like a delightful human being. Uh, who he's awful on purpose. I assume she won't be married to him forever. But she's got this new husband, and we keep saying his last name after we've got this big slow mo walk where it's a big deal that she's there, and I'm like, that has to be Lana Lang, and you're like, well, no, it's not. Here's this other last name, and I was like,
Well, I
well, yeah,
said
but
that
she's
too, and you
married.
said
She's gonna
same.
have a new last name.
No, it's progressive. She's still Lana Lang.
But it's this traditional small town. She's gonna have a different last name.
Well, the only reason I was confused was because when he turns around, I was like, oh, I guess that has to be Lana Lang because who else would it be? And then they were like, oh, it's Sarah Cushing. I
Cushing.
was like,
Yeah.
who's that?
Yeah, and it looks like we're gonna potentially do a love triangle with her daughter and Superman's two boys.
Yeah, which could get awkward, but it wasn't too bad
I think
here.
the thing with his kids could go either way. I mean, you
Yeah,
actually have two potential massive liabilities in your supporting cast, which is unfortunate because it's most of the it's everyone that lives in that house except for Superman. He's wonderful. I'm sure he'll be great all the way through. There are going to be places probably where he's gonna seem he's gonna seem like like Lois is controlling him too much. That's the main thing I worry about with him, where he'll go along with stuff he shouldn't go along with and won't put his foot down as often as he should. Where it's like, no, why don't you quit conceding and like have a conversation and make a compromise? There was
Yeah.
one moment that kind of had that in this episode where I'm like, yeah, Clark, like I feel like this is not how a marriage is supposed to work. Like,
Well, that was when she gets torn down, yeah, because she has like a big freak out, and Clark's just like, okay,
yeah,
fine.
yeah, that's where he's seeming a little bit
He
overly
put his
pathetic.
tail between his legs. Yeah, exactly.
He should not, like, I love the Lane speech. He should not have needed him to say it. If Sam Lane's not there, he's the one who should be giving that speech.
Yeah. In season 3, Clark will just move out on his own. He'll go back to Metropolis, and will never deal with the family again. But it'll still be called Superman and Lois.
There will be no Lois. There'll be
Yeah.
a figurative Lois of some kind. So I want to talk about that for a minute. I'm also concerned about, and then we should talk about the kids, but I'm also concerned that this show may not have legs. This feels like the beginning of a miniseries to me.
That is true. Yeah, I can see
I'm
that.
not seeing the 5, 6 seasons of this.
Yeah. No, definitely, because it's got that feel with like him going to Smallville and stuff. It feels like it's just here's this one story.
Yeah, it feels
Not
like a
here's
chapter in
this.
his life. And if this keeps going, they need to allow it to change status quos. Like, if you get to a place where it doesn't make sense to be in Smallville anymore, don't force that and keep it in that town.
Yeah.
Let him go back to Metropolis. Let him move somewhere else. Do a whole season where he's in space. Like, whatever you want to do, but don't feel like you have to be stuck in Smallville. Well, I think that kind of thing is possible. I really do.
I want them in space. That sounds awesome.
Well, and if memory serves, there's a whole thing in Supergirl where Superman and Lois leave the planet for a while and leave Supergirl, and she has to kind of pick up the slack for Superman not being there anymore. So I mean, if memory serves, there's precedent. I think you could see that. I think you could see a whole kind of new Krypton kind of story where he goes to like a new version of Krypton.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
I mean, I love all that, and I feel like this pilot is proving that if they've got, at least if they've got the means and they keep, the team they currently have, they could do any permeation of Superman. They could do the small town stuff. They could do the Metropolis stuff. They could potentially do the space stuff. You see all three of those things in this episode.
Yeah. Yeah, well, even yeah, when he goes to space, it looks really good. It
Stunning.
was yeah, it was incredible.
So let's talk about the boys, and then let's talk about the helmet thing, the Luthor of it all, which is nuts. We gotta
Doom
talk
guy.
about that.
Yeah.
So
Yes, you want to start with the kids?
yeah, so like how do you feel about that dynamic? How did you feel about the kind of reversal they did when we found out which of the kids finally had powers? And how do you feel about how we're handling the powers and all of that?
I think that feels like the most typical stuff in the episode, definitely. As for the reversal thing, though, if only we were recording, because when we first see them, I was like, it's going to be the jock kid that doesn't have powers, and then I switched when it looked like the curly haired kid was more evil, and then it ended up,
You were right all along.
yep, I just didn't believe in myself. But
Uh,
I still am like buy that that kid isn't gonna turn evil.
oh, I think he totally is. Especially because he's not John Kent. He's a made-up character, as far as I know. And as soon as they gave them two boys, I was so suspicious of that. I was like, wait, you're going to have a John Kent, and then you're going to have this other guy who's named Jordan? I don't know why. Who's he named after? Why Jordan? That's weird.
Yeah, because the entire time we were saying this is gonna be new Clark and new Lex.
Yeah, which could be a really cool dynamic. Like, a part of me kind of wants that. Now that he's the one with the powers, that puts you in a potential kind of, like you said while we were watching, kind of a Brightburn situation or a Chronicle situation.
Yeah,
And
you could either do they both have powers, or you do the reversal of Clark and Lex, where Clark is the one without powers and Lex does.
yeah, and the one without powers is the one who ends up being the actual hero
Yeah,
and the
yeah, exactly.
responsible one, and that kind of drives home that the powers are not supposed to be what makes you special. So that could be a really good way to do that. And again, I like the idea of doing really creepy, messed up, dark stuff in a Superman show where Superman's like is able to hang on to his principles. So like, what if he had a kid that has all his powers and went dark and nuts? Like, what if you made his kid the Injustice Superman? I'm fine with all of that. I think that could be really cool if you do it right.
Well, and the first time you're introduced to that kid, he's playing Injustice too.
Yeah, foreshadowing. I think he is
Something.
potentially. Maybe I'm reading too far into this, being the Superman fan that I am. I think he's got curly hair to potentially foreshadow that he's the one that he might go evil down the road. He looks like, I said this at the beginning. I said he looks like a young Lex to me, and the Jock Kid doesn't look anything like a Superman. I think they're doing all that on purpose.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
he's
no, definitely.
and the Jordan kid has definitely an angst problem. They also gave him an anxiety disorder, and that's got to be something.
Yeah, no, exactly. They're really playing their cards hard on him being evil, I think. And maybe
They could reverse
maybe
that
he
on us
won't.
too.
Yeah. Maybe it'll just be like you get the angsty Superman, and real Superman has to teach him how to be Superman.
Might you be worried that with this Luthor thing we're doing, and I don't know what that character is going to end up being. We have to talk about that because, of course, we already have Lex Luthor in this universe, and he's not a big, burly, scary black guy who has a Kryptonian ship. That's not what their Lex is at all. Might you be a little concerned that we could do the whole like the villain takes one of Superman's kids under his wing, and
Yeah.
they could go that way?
Yeah, that could be what they're doing.
I
I
don't
didn't
know.
think about it, but now that you say it.
That just came to me, but I'm just thinking of all the typical stuff I would expect a CW show to do, and that would be in there, right? Where he
Yeah.
mentors him and he tries to turn him into an evil Superman. Especially because he's got that whole speech to Superman about how he doesn't belong there, and he thinks he's one of them, but he's not. And he could do that whole thing to his kid, where he's like, see, you're meant for something greater, and you're not supposed to, be here. And
Yeah,
we don't
see,
know enough about that character yet, but
basically this show is the Superman equivalent of Tom King Vision, and his family's gonna go nuts.
that's really interesting.
And Luthor is the Grim Reaper. He's gonna
Oh
get killed next
no!
episode.
Oh, you think they could do that? You think they could bring him down and just kill him right away?
Yeah, Lois will just like cave his head in next episode.
Superman's gonna snap his neck, and then we're gonna ruin Superman just immediately.
No, Superman will snap his neck and then like smile at like a child as he's snapping his neck.
No, the kid does it. He actually comes
Yeah.
down and tries to do the mentor thing, and in the last scene they're in together, he's like, "Nah, screw that." And he kills Lex Luthor. That's what he
Yeah,
does.
that's your mid-season finale.
Or I say Lex Luthor. We've only gotten the last name. I'm going to assume that he's a version of Lex Luthor.
Well, he could be Lex's dad.
Okay.
It could happen.
I don't know about that. There's no family resemblance.
Well, it's only because you see the back of his head.
Oh, okay. That's hilarious. So predictions on that? Do we know enough to guess, to speculate?
I don't know, and because I don't know enough about Superman either, so I don't even know if they've done anything like this with Lex before. Obviously, I know he's got like the power armor thing. But yeah, no, it looked very different from like any Lex I've ever seen.
Yeah, it seems like he's got a Kryptonian ship. I'm assuming that's Kryptonian battle armor. That's my guess.
That's my guess too. Yeah. Well, there's the whole thing where they find like the Kryptonian writing.
Yeah. Which
And
I
that's-
got giddy about because they're using the language from Smallville, and I don't remember if Supergirl has that. Maybe it does too. That was one of the things where I was like, are they retconning Supergirl things just to make this look more like Smallville? Like, I just don't remember. But I always get excited when I see that writing.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I didn't
I'm gonna-
realize there was a reference to that.
Well, it is and it isn't. That became the standard Kryptonian text, which they get away from entirely in Man of Steel. They made up their own, but we didn't have a standard in the comics before Smallville. Smallville makes that up, and then when you read comics after that, it becomes the house style for Kryptonian writing. But yeah, I've always loved the Kryptonian symbols. I'm gonna get it tattooed soon. That's what I'm doing is Kryptonian symbols.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
I was stoked to see that. Yeah.
You can have Captain Luther written across your neck.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna get my wife's name in Kryptonian symbols on my arm.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So the only guess I have is alternate dimension, because.
But yeah, it's got to be what it is, right?
I'll be real surprised if I don't know what else it could be. And what's
travel,
funny is
Lex from the future comes back.
Unless it's a blatant retcon and they really don't care about Supergirl.
I honestly hope that's what it is, just because it would make me laugh.
There's no way that that's what it is, because they're going to want to still be able to do these like crossovers between shows. Yeah. Although I will assume Supergirl will show up in the show at least one time before her show is done, or even after it's. I would assume she'll get a guest spot somewhere, right?
Yeah, I'd assume so. Well, I assume the same with John Cryer, but now who knows?
Who knows? Yeah, they could do some silly thing where they have like a John Cryer versus this Lex.
Lex squared.
No, that's not how you do Lex squared. You know though, if you did an alternate dimension Lex thing, or forget Smallville, or Supergirl, this was somehow in its own dimension in the first place, it would have been really cool to do Lex that way.
Yeah. Yeah, because Lex squared is awesome.
We're talking about from Earth 1. It's fantastic. And it was a really cool setup at the end of that first issue, and then they totally nailed it. Or was it second? But when we finally see them and they're like in the story, it's perfect. It's so good.
Yeah, it's at the end of 2, and then you see them in 3.
In 3, that's what it was. Yeah, I couldn't remember. It's been so long.
Well, I didn't think about this until you just said it. But when we do crossovers, is it going to be like the crossover looks like crap, cinematic crap?
It's just like masterpiece level. What if the pilot looks like this and the rest of the show doesn't?
I'd be so disheartened.
Yeah, I mean that would really hurt my feelings. I don't expect
it to look as good, but like at least somewhat, at least in like shots and stuff and the lighting.
I would not expect them to do this. This is just wild, nutso desert island speculation. Is there any chance at all that the reason that we haven't had a lot of reference to the Supergirl show and all that is because this is secretly not in that universe, and this is an alternate Tyler Hoechlin Superman? Surely not, right?
I wouldn't think so, but hopefully. This is going to be the Star Trek Discovery, like, Mirrorverse thing, though, right? Like,
or it'll be like Discovery, but good, where it like retcons a lot of things and it can't possibly be in the same universe, but it's so good I don't care, and this is the one I want to follow.
So Picard?
No, not Picard. No, that's never happened with Star Trek. just for the record. We've been at this about an hour. What else do we need to talk about?
I don't know. I feel like we've covered everything.
All the major stuff.
Yeah.
It's like at the very least, just going totally superficial. It's so pretty.
Yeah. I can't wait for episode 2 to come out, and it's like awful, and then we just look like a bunch of jerks.
Oh God, I hope not. I'm gonna, if I can find time, I'm gonna turn right around and watch this again tomorrow. Like I can't believe what it looks like. And how consistent it is tonally, because it just feels effortless. There's a weird juggling act this is having to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, definitely.
It's too good for that network. It's iZombie all over again, except that stayed good. And I don't know that this will.
Well, hopefully. Can you imagine if we had just like 8 seasons of a great Superman show?
That doesn't sound statistically possible.
No.
But yeah, well, and I meant to say this earlier, and I guess this will be the last thing I say, but what's really impressive about this, we talked earlier about how they found this new status quo for Superman that's not exactly like anything we've had before, made it fresh and new again. We've had so many, specifically just live-action Superman shows. Like, how is it even possible to do yet more Superman TV that feels like nothing we've had before that totally goes its own way, and like where I can't even imagine what kind of stories you tell. Like I'm not watching the show going, oh okay, I'm seeing like all the obvious episodic things you do and all the villains that you bring in and all of that. I don't even know what bad guys you use because Supergirl's exhausted a lot of Superman's rogues already, and it was weird because you had a Superman that's been around for a long time, but they do a few like origins for major Superman villains that become her rogues, and that he's not really dealing with that much, which was kind of unfortunate. Like, I don't think we're gonna run the gamut in this of Superman characters. I don't think it's gonna be that kind of show.
Yeah, so like I said earlier, it'll be more in line with like the Hulk or I guess more so Lois and Clark, where we're not like dealing with a bunch of the comic book villains and stuff.
Yeah, we've name dropped Luthor, whatever that's gonna be, with that Kryptonian suit. That's fascinating. And also real quick, it's kind of gutsy to have your big costume villain like that. In the pilot, you never see his face. Like, they're still making a big mystery out of that. Like, we know his name is Luthor. We only see the back of his head. We hear his voice, which might be somewhat modulated. I'm not sure. And then we see the back of his head, and that's it. Like, that's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And we might get like something good that has Lex Luthor take over a Kryptonian ship.
I mean, it really seems like, I don't know how else to put it, they're really putting up the middle finger to the DCEU with all that, where they're like, I mean, if you want to go there, okay. Here's what that would look like if you cared about Superman. Like, to folks that love that stuff, I apologize, but that's how I've always felt about it, and it's just exciting to me to see people making a Superman show that, like what I like about that character. And it would be difficult for me if I was making that show not to do the same thing. To be like, okay, look, you guys, here's how you do exactly what you're doing, but like correctly.
Yeah, no, absolutely, because that stuff sucks.
But we've not about to find a point on it. But we've also got Morgan Edge name dropped and in the background, and like we have two big villains. Maybe they'll be connected. I don't know. I wondered about that with the whole thing with like the nuclear sites and all of that. If that was supposed to be connected to the Morgan Edge plot, I was fuzzy on that.
Oh, what if we get Nuclear Man?
That
we get
could be...
Superman 3 shot where he like pushes up the smoke.
They had a hilarious nod to Leaning Tower of Pisa thing. Yeah. Man, they could do Nuclear Man on the show. What if they bring the actor back? That would be stunt casting I can get behind.
That'd be awesome.
Because I said earlier they didn't have any obnoxious stunt casting. To be fair, I have liked some of the stunt casting they've done with the CW. They've gotten really clever sometimes with people they've cast. But sometimes what makes it feel stunt is that they just don't do anything great with them. And so you're just like, okay, you just brought this actor in because I know who that is from another Superman thing. Like the John Cryer thing, where they're going, that guy was in Superman 4. And he was Lex's cousin. It wouldn't be funny if you played Lex. Yeah, for 5 seconds, and then we're stuck with him.
That's really funny until you realize it's not a parody.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's really sad to say that this is one of the big selling points of the show, but nothing about it feels like a parody.
Okay, but here we go. Okay. Lex Luthor creates Nuclear Man, right? So then you'd have a bit of a Frankenstein thing. So then Nuclear Man could be called Luthor because it's like his son. What if the guy in the suit is Nuclear Man and John Cryer Lex Luthor made him?
Then I will rescind everything I've said.
No, I will.
You think that would be amazing?
Yes.
That sounds horrible. I don't want John Cryer in the show at all. And saying that guy at the end is Luthor seemed to be them doubling down on here's the things that worked about what we've done with Superman so far, and here's the things that didn't. And so they're like, we're going to give you the character exactly the way we built him in the first place because we believe in that and we know we did that right. And I guess they believe in their Lois too because she's still that same character, and I don't. But
no, Nuclear Man will only say destroy Superman, but his suit translates it into what he's actually trying to say, and so it like speaks it out.
He's like Groot.
Yeah, but he has like but he wears a suit that translates it for you and then says it out loud.
That's brilliant. No,
Hire me, CW.
I don't want that whole thing with John Cryer just because I don't want him in in the show. I want Nuclear Man in the show somewhere. I think that would be great.
Yeah, Nuclear Man would be amazing. I don't know if I'm being ironic or not, but I want it.
I think you could find a way to do him and make it not the silliest thing ever.
Yeah, absolutely. You just make him this guy.
He looks really cool in Bendis's comics. It's just Bendis wrote a really bad Superman, so but they used him there and he looked cool.
That's because Nuclear Man just looks cool.
Well, anyway, anything else you want to make sure that we mentioned?
No, like I said earlier, I think we covered it pretty much.
Well, guys, thanks a lot for watching. Leave your comments. Let us know what you thought of this pilot if you saw it. And I'm certainly going to keep watching. None of these shows have I felt the need to keep up with on a weekly basis. I'm not going to be able to keep myself away from this. I'm going to have to watch it as it's coming out. And I'm not at the moment planning on doing regular videos on this because I don't do single shows on single episodes anymore. If this stays good, I could find myself wanting to make an exception for it. I don't know yet. I'm much more likely to just do a big spoiler cast when the season's done. But especially if there's a lot of interest in this video and then people end up, liking the show, I may find myself wanting to do what we did with Arrow and do a discussion series on it. But we'll have to play it by ear.
Groovy.
So anyway, thanks a lot for watching, folks. We'll see you again next time. I was Captain Logan, and that was the Day Ghost. Austin, thanks so much for doing this with me. I sure appreciate it.
Yeah, it was great.
Later, guys.